What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Raw Daddy Hour, brought to you by yours truly, Raw Daddy, the Black Hippie. This is your grandma's favorite podcast, and I am joined today with two very special guests. To my left, my immediate left, we have Miss Vicky. To my far left, once again, the Black God, Drip King, Shad himself. Vicky, the audience has not yet seen you, so I'm going to let you introduce yourself, kind of tell the people a little bit about you.
Okay, my name is Vicky. I am a designer, photographer. I'll just say creative.
Nah, she do
all.
She do everything.
Not
Don't let her fool y'all. She do everything.
Not everything. Some things.
She builds houses. She does it all.
Only on the weekends.
Oh, see? Well, you got to have the side hustles, too. We got a juicy one, guys, today. A juicy one. We couldn't even wait for the cameras to start rolling to get talking about this. We're talking about cancel culture. And before we get into the semantics, before we get into the specifics of who we feel should be canceled, who is not, let's start with, is cancel culture as a culture effective? Is it toxic? How do we feel about it? Vicky, I'm gonna start with you.
I say overall, as it stands now, I believe it's ineffective. But within the, I guess you could say, the definition of what it is, it can be effective if everyone is on the same accord. But as it stands now in this atmosphere, I don't think it's effective. I don't.
I think it's trash. I think people don't critically think. I think I'm not with you on the one accord thing, because I feel like a lot of people are sheep, and someone puts something out there and then they follow without number one even listening to or reading what the person said, gaining context from it, and that to me, it's like you said, it's toxic. I feel like people need to think for themselves, think for yourself. Listen to what the person's saying. Tweets, again, that's I feel like a lot of people don't need social media. A lot of people don't need social media.
That's real.
But I feel like sometimes things are taken out of proportion or looked at in a context where a person didn't really mean it in that way, or they meant something else, and then all it takes is one high-level person to put this thing out about this person, and then all their minions and followers are following behind them, and it turns into a big thing. It can be useful, but I honestly feel for the most part, like I said, it's trash to me.
I'm kind of in between you guys. I do believe it has potential. However, I don't necessarily believe in people's potential to actualize the potential of cancel culture. So I'll be real. I don't believe that even 50% of people can get on the same page. I don't think people want to think and dig deeper. It's a lot easier to just read a headline, or to, click a poll, or to, sign a petition, or to, so my cousin said Shad's bad, so Shad's bad. We all just gonna hop on that one. And you get 100 million people to do that, it's gonna be real difficult for an individual to be like, nah, I'm gonna go my own way.
Yeah.
Right? No one's really challenging the narrative, and I think that's where cancel culture is extremely toxic. We've gotten into the let's dig up something somebody said 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
There has to be some merit in who you truly are.
Exactly.
There has, if y'all want to dig so deep into people's lives, right? When we talk about celebrities, the public census pretty much is they don't get to have their own life. You signed up for this. People say that all the time.
Yeah.
So like I was just talking about with Kanye, and we'll get into Kanye later.
Oh, boy.
You can't just only listen to 3% of what someone says.
Yeah.
If you're not going to pay attention to me 100% of the time, don't just chime in when everybody's trying to stomp me out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I actually have an addendum to that.
Okay.
So, like what you're saying, it's trash because there are people who are sheep and they just jump on the bandwagon. It also doesn't give people a chance to grow. Because let's say the person does say something that's incorrect, right? You have to give them an opportunity to correct themselves or see a different perspective or whatever it's about. But you can't just automatically cancel them, because then as people, we're not allowed to make mistakes. So I feel like it's a myriad of issues with the cancel culture.
It's and Brent, you made a good point. It's like I can't stand seeing this on social media. Someone posts something and it's like a video or something long form that you actually have to sit and listen to, and you go in the comments and you see, oh, I'm not listening to that. Someone give me the Spark Notes.
Oh,
What?
I haven't seen that.
Are you serious? So you're gonna judge someone and you didn't even take the time to listen to. You're gonna take Susie's perspective on it? You're tripping. Like, we gotta do better. Like where does that level of laziness come from? Where you can't, like, if you
School.
It's true.
Yo, it's sad. It's like you really don't want to. You really can't take the. You're quick to judge someone, but you can't take the time to sit down and actually listen to what someone's saying or read thoroughly what someone is saying. Like, nah, like you don't get to cancel somebody.
Right.
Nah,
Yeah.
not until you do the work. No.
I had once again, going back to this call that I was on the other day, there was a gentleman talking about empathy and perspective, right? Something that we, once again, as a society, lack. So when I come into a conversation or whatever, or if I'm listening to a celebrity talk about something, I'm going to do my best, my absolute best. I'm not perfect at it, to try and see it from your perspective. So when you're talking about something, I want to try to see how you came to that conclusion. Where did you get that from? Because in some instances, it is a little bit justified why they feel how they feel, right? They might have been reacting to something that in that moment, it made perfect sense why they said what they said. But me, only living in my bubble and taking what they said and putting it into my context, does not make sense. I cannot judge their comment based on, oh, well, I would have said this. Well, in my bubble, on my block, in my corner, that's not how things go. We have to have the ability to look at something that someone has said or read what someone has said. Do your best. I'm not saying that you can always be perfect at this, but do your best at putting yourself in their shoes. If you haven't, like you said, taken the time to really listen to what I'm saying, and you're going to judge me based off of the rundown, right? We played this game when we were in elementary school, where you tell the secret to one person, and by the time the secret get all the way around, what are you talking about, bro? I said, Sally's wearing red shoes. How did I get gumbo by the time this came back to my ears? So people don't, they don't take the time to be like, okay, that doesn't really sound right. That doesn't sound, this isn't adding up. Let me go ahead and kind of figure out, what this person was trying to portray. And then I can say whether or not I disagree with it.
And then supplement it with additional information.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yourself.
Yeah. For sure.
So I guess we can kind of play devil's advocate here. I know we all don't have the most faith in where the cancel culture direction is going, but in a perfect world, how would we fix cancel culture, Vicky? What would you do to kind of, wrangle this thing in? Because right now it's like a bull.
I feel like, okay, with cancel culture, right, let's say someone says something, considering the climate we're in right now with racial stuff, let's say someone says, a white person says something racist, right, and we want to cancel that person. Now, I think that ideally with how cancel culture should work is they should be given an opportunity to correct themselves. I talked with a friend and understood that what I said was racially insensitive, and I understand why now I shouldn't say these things anymore, right? So you give the person a chance to correct themselves. If they're like Trump and just like, no, that you need to be canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I feel about it. So, and canceling, it's really, of course, there's going to be sheep with the canceling. That they're not going to do their own footwork in understanding what's going on. But if there is a person like that does need some sort of repercussions, then it needs to happen, whether it's with our money or, whatever it is. But it would take people. There would take some solidarity. There would need to be some sort of solidarity in order for that to happen, for that person to feel the ramifications of whatever it is they said or did.
Let's use a real world example. Are you familiar with the Drew Brees situation?
I was
Yes.
just thinking that.
Okay, so we'll use that, right? So Drew Brees came out and he was asked about the kneeling during the flag. And he said that, he doesn't support it because he doesn't support anything that disrespects the flag. He later, talked to his teammates or whatever, came back, apologized, acknowledged that he was coming from a place of privilege and his bubble,
Yes.
right? He was commenting based on being in his bubble, and he retracted his statement. Drew Brees has a pretty good body of work for community work in New Orleans. He's embraced the community post-Katrina. Like, he's done a lot of things, right? There was a sentiment amongst people to cancel Drew Brees after his initial statements. And then even after his apology and after his growth period, there was a sentiment that, why would we accept his apology? Why would we allow him to grow, so to speak? He should have already known. He's in a locker room full of black people all the time. So he tried, he attempted to do it, let's call it the Vicky way, right? He attempted to go back, learn from his mistakes, be educated, like Shad said in an earlier podcast, be enlightened. But people still wanted to cancel him. How do you, Shad, we'll start with you since you were going to bring this up. How do you feel about that situation? Do you feel cancel culture got it right, or do you feel like this is a prime example of why, this is wrong?
Is he canceled now still?
I mean, to some people, I feel like he's still but like,
it's like in the process. It's kind of like when Trump was getting impeached. Like, we got to go through the courts.
Like, Vicky both of you guys kind of alluded to it. We got to give people an opportunity to grow. Like, okay, he's a football player. Yes, he's in a locker room full of African American people. That don't mean he having those kind of racial conversations with them. He made a comment that was racially insensitive. There are people, most of them who were his teammates, who I felt, yes, they were angry, and yes, they had a right to be angry, but they had compassion and wanted to have conversation with him to enlighten him and make him understand, bro, like, you looking at this the wrong way, like. And if it were me and I was one of his teammates, again, looking at the stuff that he's done throughout through the community, like, so y'all saying one comment that negates all that other stuff that he's done? Me personally, and I know there's a lot of people who, once you cross that line, it ain't no coming back. But dude, like, we are all human. We all think crazy stuff. We all say crazy stuff sometimes. But that's like, I feel like, okay, yes, if you show your ass enough, okay, yeah, bruh, close the door, you can't come inside. But like, for people, like, we gotta allow people to make mistakes and grow. Like, if someone makes a mistake, says something wrong, does something wrong, and we're able to show compassion and inform them and help them understand what the mistake is. If they continue to make the same mistake, okay, cool. Like, yeah, okay, you cancel. But like Drew Brees, come on, man, are you serious? When that story came up, I was just like, this is crazy. Like, I understand the outrage, but dude's done so much in that community for one comment to kind of tarnish everything that he's done. Like, I wasn't with it. I wasn't feeling it at all.
And I agree. And that kind of goes back to what you said in the podcast before about teaching children to go through their emotions. There's nothing, like you said, there's nothing wrong with his teammates being upset.
Yeah.
Because, bro, I read that and we was just balling a couple months ago, and I read that, I'm gonna be like, yo, what's going on, dude? How do you not understand this? They have a right to be perturbed, so to speak, right? But then what comes after that? Now we got to have this conversation, because like you said, you can't just X somebody's body of work. You can't just do that. They don't do that with actors. You have one bad movie and now give me your Oscars back. It doesn't work that way, right? We have to have this conversation now. So then after having that conversation, and now you are enlightened, now you do know. Now you continue to show your butt. Okay, Pat, give me the key. You on the other side of the door, right? That's kind of how we have to differentiate that stuff. So do you guys feel like there's ever been a case in cancel culture where we did get it right, where we went through the processes, where we went through the steps, Vicky, and canceled somebody that deserved it?
Well, before I touch on that, I thought of something while you were talking. Just as it's the receiver's responsibility to kind of give that person an opportunity, to correct themselves or whatever it is, I think in the Drew Brees situation, I think people were upset that he's done all this for the community and he was choosing ignorance to believe that kneeling was a protest against the military or whatever. So I think there was frustration with that. Like, even especially now with people talking about it and people are verbally saying, no, this was never a protest. Yeah. This is not an issue of patriotism, So I think it was that kind of like choosing that ignorance on his part. So just as like the receiver can critically think and evaluate things, it was that expectation that he should have done the same too.
Oh yeah, that's a good. Most definitely. I like that.
So, but is there ever a time we've gotten it right? I don't think so.
Because like when you really think about
I
it,
don't think so.
What is the canceling?
Yeah.
Like Kanye's been canceled like 87 times.
Right.
1 minute he's canceled because he spazzed, and then the next minute is like the Gap thing. Like everyone's praising him because he got the 10-year deal with Gap. It's like, do we ever really cancel? It's like I feel like the cancellation is like in the moment. I'm trying to think about.
And it's harsher for certain people.
This is facts.
That's true.
This is facts. Yeah,
that's true.
There could be two people that do the same thing. One is canceled, one isn't.
Yeah.
So
very true. Like Dwayne Wade, Chris Brown.
You said wait, like the way what?
They were
Chris Brown was supposed to be dead in the water.
They were so mad. This isn't even like crazy stuff. They were so mad that Dwayne Wade dyed his hair. Bro. Chris Brown had a whole the clown hairdo, but they was like, oh, so it's cool when Chris Brown does it.
Isn't Chris canceled though?
Chris is supposed to have been canceled.
How
long ago did that thing?
If that's canceled, then I will gladly be canceled.
I feel like I hear people talking about their act of already canceling him more than like any.
I think
other.
Chris just has a segregated fan base. You know what I mean? Like some people,
That's
I
true.
feel like
That's
Chris
true.
is just a hate him or love him.
Yeah,
he doesn't
that's
really
true.
have like a lukewarm. Like there aren't people that are just like, oh, that's Chris. It's like no, or it's like yeah, he's the
That's
GOAT.
true.
It's kind of like GOAT or I hate him.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings me to this point. Do we feel like there are unrealistic expectations set on people who are in the public eye, as if they're not able to just be humans? We are putting them in a position where damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you don't speak up enough, where are you? If you speak up too much, you said the wrong stuff. You're canceled this week, you're not canceled. So is it kind of like we're just not allowing people to do and go through the same mistakes that we ourselves go through? Because I had this conversation with one of my friends in the car one time where it's like people were lashing out at celebrities who weren't necessarily speaking up immediately, when, let's say, black issues come up. I personally believe that it's their duty as someone who has an audience to wait, gather the proper information, and speak as close to 100% correctly as they can. You who live on 2287 North Avenue and you have 4 friends, bro, you can blurt out whatever you want to blurt out because no one's listening to you. I don't mean it in like a derogatory way, but nobody's really taking your word and running with it, right? But if Drake comes out and reports on something that is completely false,
the sheep
already believe it.
Yep.
I don't care if it's disproven. They already believe it. So I personally believe that it is in the person, the public figure's best interest to take your time when responding to things, to take your time when reporting on things, because you need to be as close to positively correct as you can be, and you need to be very firm within the opinion that you put out there. There have been many a times when celebrities have commented on something and had to retract that and make a quick pivot like, oh, I just saw that post up like 30 minutes ago. Where'd it go? Well, it was wrong. But the people were pushing them so hard to put something out. Where you at? Where you at, Dave Chappelle? Where you at, Cat Williams? Where you at, Chris Brown? Like, why you ain't said nothing? Well, geez, can you let them, get the information first and dissect it? So are we putting people in a position where they just can't be humans like we're allowed to be humans? And is that fair?
I personally feel like, and this is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the J. Cole No Name situation going on right now. So that's a prime example to me. Like, and I have so much respect for J. Cole just because he was super transparent in his response. I understand where the lashback came from on how people feel like he should have went about a different way in his response, but I think to your point of celebrities being held at this standard because they have such a huge following, like Cole was like point blank saying, dude, y'all think that I'm this super woke person when, dude, I'm really not. I'm learning the same way that you guys are. And I'm taking my time, and, he was out marching and things like that. We don't know what his experience is in this whole moment. Seeing the George Floyd thing, marching with those people, we don't know what the information is doing to him. And until he makes a statement, if he ever chooses to, I feel like we have to respect, like that. Yes, they're a celebrity, but they're a person. Like, we have to respect that person. I don't think that him or any other celebrity, again, like Dave Chappelle, like what does Dave Chappelle say in the special? He was like, no, nobody cares. Like, who cares about what I think in this moment?
He said Ja Rule.
Yo, who cares what Ja Rule thinks in this situation?
I said Ja Rule.
Like,
Yeah, Ja Rule ain't been around for a minute.
Like, come on. Like, the microwave response has to stop. It has to stop. Think about what you're going to say. Brent, you made a strong point. Like, you have a platform. Dude, you need to handle this thing with care. Take in the information, process, get your thoughts together, and speak like an educated person on a topic. Like, the quick fire response outrage, dude, that ain't it, man. That's not it. And it's a product of this generation. Like, we're just, everything has to be so fast. Like, quick. Attention span is so short. So when something happens, we're on Twitter looking for our favorite person. Oh, what they say. Dude, stop. First of all, get your own opinions in your mind and thoughts on whatever the situation is. And if your favorite celebrity says something, great. If he doesn't, who cares? How do you feel?
Exactly. So how I kind of want to end this one off is, what advice could we give people when they are, when they are confronted with these ideas of, here comes the wave of, let's cancel this individual. Here comes the let's cancel Vicky wave, and it's coming strong. Like trust and believe. When these waves come, there is no holds barred. It's like, either y'all cancel this person with me or you out, right? What advice could we give people in terms of when they see something happen and when they see somebody about to get canceled, even in regular social circles? What advice could we give them to maybe be the voice of reason, or, to kind of do that research and maybe make the decision like, we do need to cancel this person? Vicky?
I would say, when you see a piece of news article, whatever it may be, a post, that you don't take that as truth automatically. Go and actually look it up yourself, at least 2 other sources, and they're like, okay, this is what was said. Or if it wasn't, one thing I do is like, okay, if it was a quote from an interview, I need to read what was before that quote or what was after. So,
Yes.
so just making sure that you're getting all the information from whatever it was before you come up with your own conclusion. And then from there, okay, let's see what the person has said. Are they acknowledging this? Do they seem like they're actually open and listening to what feedback they're getting from people or the response that they're getting? Or are they just like, I said what I said? Because those I said what I said people, okay, then you won't get my dollars. So it's just, you have to really evaluate. But I guess that assumes you have the critical thinking skills to do so, but that's another topic. But get as much information as you can before you come to a conclusion and cancel somebody.
That's my response.
That's your response.
That's my response.
Hey.
She said it just the way I would say it.
Well, that's how we're going to end it then, people. I would like to thank my brother Shad and my sister Vicky for coming on with me today, talking about this cancel culture. We could talk about this for years,
Yes, seriously.
days, months. There's a lot of sentiments that we have on this, but this was just a little excerpt that we wanted to give you guys. So thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Raw Daddy Hour, brought to you by your boy, Raw Daddy the Black Hippie. We'll catch y'all in the next one.